Picture this. The year is 1955, the golden age of air travel, a time of sleek, propeller-driven aircraft. It was a time of great promise and even greater mystery. On a seemingly ordinary day, a routine flight embarked on a journey. It was destined to become a legend. This is the baffling tale of Flight 914, a flight lost to time itself. The aircraft, a Douglas DC-4, stood ready, its nose pointed toward the horizon. The air hummed with anticipation. Passengers, dressed in their finest attire, boarded the plane. They were filled with dreams of reaching their destination. Little did they know, fate had other plans. This was Pan American Airways Flight 914, a routine commercial flight from New York to Miami, a journey that should have taken a few hours. Instead, it became a journey through time, a journey shrouded in enigma, a journey that continues to baffle investigators and ignite imaginations to this day. You need to hear this if you're a fan of unsolved mysteries. Flight 914 vanished in 1955 and reappeared 37 years later. The world of 1955 was a world on the brink of change. Elvis Presley was topping the charts. The Cold War was casting a long shadow, and in the realm of aviation, the jet age was just beginning to dawn. But on this day, Flight 914 prepared for takeoff. It was a scene of ordinary excitement. Captain Robert Regan, a seasoned pilot, went through his pre-flight checks. His co-pilot, First Officer Thomas Peterson, reviewed their flight plan. The crew, experienced and professional, prepared for the familiar route south. The passengers settled into their seats. They were a mix of businessmen, families on vacation, and young couples. They chatted excitedly. They read books and magazines, unaware of the bizarre twist their journey was about to take. At precisely 9:55 a.m., Flight 914 roared down the runway. It lifted into the clear blue sky. The passengers left behind the familiar sights of New York City. They headed towards the sunny shores of Miami. What they didn't know was that they were flying towards the unknown. The initial leg of the flight was uneventful. The Douglas DC-4 hummed steadily southward. The passengers enjoyed the in-flight service. They chatted with their fellow travelers. They gazed out the windows at the passing clouds. Everything seemed normal. But then, without warning, the unexpected happened. At 10:56 a.m., just over an hour into the flight, air traffic control at Jacksonville, Florida received a routine radio transmission from Flight 914. It was the last anyone ever heard from the plane. Minutes later, the aircraft vanished from radar screens. It was as if it had simply ceased to exist. The disappearance of Flight 914 sent shockwaves through the aviation world. Search and rescue operations were immediately launched. The Coast Guard scoured the Atlantic Ocean. Planes crisscrossed the projected flight path, yet despite their best efforts, no trace of the missing aircraft was found. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. The mystery deepened. Theories abounded, ranging from pilot error to mechanical failure, even alien abduction. But none of these theories could fully explain the complete and utter disappearance of Flight 914. The case grew cold. The families of the passengers and crew were left with nothing but unanswered questions. The fate of Flight 914 remained an enigma. The world continued to spin. The Cold War ended. The internet was born. Man walked on the moon. And still, the mystery of Flight 914 lingered. It became a footnote in aviation history, a chilling reminder of the unknown. Then, on a seemingly ordinary day in 1992, the impossible happened. May 21, 1992, dawned like any other day at Caracas International Airport in Venezuela. Air traffic controllers went about their routines. The hum of aircraft filled the air, but at precisely 12:32 p.m., something extraordinary occurred. An unidentified blip appeared on the radar screens. It was approaching the airport from the north. The controllers, initially unconcerned, attempted to contact the unidentified aircraft, but their calls were met with only static. The blip grew larger on the radar. It was clear that the aircraft was on a collision course with the airport. The controllers held their breath. They braced for the worst. Then, through the haze of disbelief, a sight emerged that defied all logic. Taxiing down the runway, as if it had materialized from thin air, was a Douglas DC-4. Its livery was faded but unmistakable. It was the long-lost Flight 914. Section 5. Landing in Caracas. The sight of the antiquated aircraft sent a collective gasp through the control tower. Air traffic controllers stared in disbelief. Experienced pilots rubbed their eyes. It was as if a ghost had suddenly materialized on the runway. The DC-4, its engine sputtering, taxied slowly towards the assigned gate. A ground crew, dispatched to investigate, approached cautiously. Their hearts pounded with a mixture of trepidation and excitement. As they drew closer, they noticed something peculiar. The windows of the aircraft were dark. The passengers inside seemed oblivious to the commotion their arrival had caused. Word of the impossible arrival spread like wildfire through the airport. Airport staff, security personnel, and curious onlookers rushed towards the gate. Everyone wanted a glimpse of the aircraft that had seemingly cheated time. As the DC-4 came to a stop, the ground crew signaled for the door to be opened. After a few moments of agonizing suspense, the door creaked open. A flight attendant, her uniform seemingly from a bygone era, peered out. Her eyes widened in astonishment as she took in the unfamiliar surroundings. "Where are we?" she asked, her voice trembling. "This isn't Miami." Section 6. Stepping out of time. The flight attendant's question hung in the air, thick with disbelief and confusion. The ground crew exchanged bewildered glances. No one dared to speak the obvious. This was no ordinary flight. This was a flight out of time. Moments later, Captain Reagan, his face etched with confusion, emerged from the cockpit. He was followed by his co-pilot, Thomas Peterson, who looked equally baffled. The passengers, a mix of men, women, and children dressed in 1950s attire, began to disembark. They looked around in bewilderment. Their eyes darted from the modern jetliners to the sleek airport terminal. They were stepping into a world they no longer recognized. A wave of murmurs and gasps rippled through the crowd as the passengers realized something was amiss. The modern clothing, the unfamiliar language, the bustling activity all around them. It was a scene straight out of a science fiction movie. Confusion quickly turned to panic as the passengers and crew tried to make sense of their situation. Where were they? How had they gotten here? Why did everything look so different? Section 7. Gone again. The chaos and confusion at the gate were only heightened when airport authorities, alerted to the impossible situation, arrived on the scene. Armed guards surrounded the aircraft. Customs officials demanded to see passports and immigration documents. But the documents, dated 1955, only deepened the mystery. Attempts to communicate with the passengers and crew proved difficult. Their confusion and fear were palpable. They spoke of a routine flight. They spoke of turbulence. They spoke of a strange silence before landing. But their accounts only raised more questions than answers. Then, just as suddenly as it had appeared, Flight 914 was gone. One moment, the antiquated aircraft stood on the tarmac. The next, it was gone, vanished into thin air. The disappearance, witnessed by dozens of stunned onlookers, only deepened the mystery. Some claimed the aircraft simply took off and flew away, disappearing into the clouds. Others swore they saw it fade away right before their eyes. Section 8. The Unthinkable. The events at Caracas International Airport sent shockwaves around the world. News of the impossible arrival and disappearance of Flight 914 traveled at the speed of light. Skeptics dismissed the story as a hoax, a fabrication, but for those who had witnessed it firsthand, there was no doubt. Something extraordinary had occurred, something that defied all logical explanation. Theories abounded, ranging from the plausible to the outlandish. Time warps, wormholes, alien abductions, all were put forth as possible explanations for the baffling incident. Experts and scientists weighed in, offering their own hypotheses. But in the end, no one could definitively explain what had happened to Flight 914. Some speculated that the aircraft had somehow entered a time slip, a rift in the fabric of space-time. Others suggested that it had flown through a wormhole, a theoretical tunnel that connects two distant points in space-time. And still others maintained that the aircraft and its passengers had been abducted by extraterrestrial beings, subjected to experiments, and then returned to Earth. Section 9. The mystery endures. The mystery of Flight 914 continues to fascinate and intrigue people to this day. It stands as a testament to the enduring power of the unknown. A chilling reminder that there are still many things in this world that we do not understand. Was it a time slip, a wormhole, an alien abduction? Or was it something else entirely? The truth, as they say, is out there. But for now, the mystery of Flight 914 remains unsolved. A tantalizing enigma that continues to capture our imaginations. A story whispered in hushed tones. a story that reminds us that sometimes the most unbelievable stories are the ones that are true.